Greetings everyone, my name is Flare Bliss and welcome to Iwaihime. I believe that's how you pronounce it. If not, then I'm incorrect there. This is the story of envy of you, the privilege of dying. Curse your powerlessness and leave us in the realms of the supernatural. Strike down the dark riddles of dolls and sit in this supernatural horror visual novel. Link in the description below where you'll be able to purchase this game for yourselves. Let's see what this tale has to bestow upon us. This doesn't look that horrific. And here I'd figure he'd be the one embarrassed to show up late. So much for playing it cool, huh? I let my enthusiasm get the better of me and arrived too early. I would have felt guilty otherwise, making him wait at some station he'd never visit after the long trip. Wonder how tall Shizumu is. Couldn't really tell from the photo. Shizumu was my distant relative. Like me, he was 16 and a junior in high school. Starting this spring, he would be leaving here in Susada, going to the same school as me too. He said he'd know where my place was, but normally you pick people up at the station, right? Still though, that was no excuse for my premature arrival. Oh, it should be nice if he got in a little early. He seemed like the punctual type, so I figured he'd be more likely to get here 5 minutes ahead of time. There was no way he'd show up an hour early. Oh, okay, so there's no means of saving your progression. I don't want to quit the game, but there's no, like, skip function or anything like that. So, I think what this game is trying to do here is set up consequences if you make a decision that you will regret. Yet, I had to go and get the brilliant idea to show up over an hour ahead of schedule anyway. I wasn't trying to get that carried away, but honestly, it just kinda happened. Killing time at a Czech coffee shop would be ideal for this sort of situation. Check. But, like, C and Hick. But, well, I didn't want to waste over 300 yen of my meager allowance on a single cup of coffee. So there I was, leaning against a pillar in front of the ticket gate, looking like a fool as I stared off into space and time. At first I was worried about my hair looking funny, but I remember I looked funny anyways, like I was waiting for my first date or something. But those silly feelings passed after a while. Eventually, I found myself staring blankly at the bustling crowds of people. My mind as blank and stackety as a TV tuned to a dead channel. Oh right, I'm not even pressed on the game for some odd reason. No matter how much I checked my phone, it wouldn't change the fact, but I still had another 50 or so minutes to go. It'd be nice if I could find a game or something to pass the time, but I forgot to bring my Switch. But since I was still recharging MP and Winadora, I couldn't play it for another 12 hours. Personally, I think you'd be surprised how popular our spot train stations are. Oh. Well, isn't that just a grim topic to talk about? All of a sudden, my channel locked onto a single voice speaking amidst the crowds. The voice appeared to be that of a young office worker all by herself, perhaps talking on the phone. Getting to any of the really big spots is a journey in and of itself, isn't it? It takes a lot of courage, resolve, and even time. I mean, have you ever thought of how much work it takes to get all the way out to Okayagara? I know I botched that pronunciation. First, you've got to look into how to get there. Hop on a train, switch line after line, sorry, and then walk all the way up there. And all that just to KYS? Don't you think simply hanging around at home would have been much easier? She was discussing a rather morbid topic with the same energy one would the latest fashions and trends. Not surprising as well, what the heck? That said, I had to admit it was fascinating in a morbid way. But even hanging yourself around isn't all that simple. Most people don't have anything thick enough to do a job lying around, do they? And if it's tall enough, then they can't really find a hanging object in order to be able to go off the ground. Now that she mentioned it, I couldn't think of anything at my place that could support my weight. Going to the store to get a rope or something just to KYS seemed like a real fast way to kill the mood. Yeah, even just hanging okay, it took effort. And in a horrible way, it takes courage as well. You need, in a morbid way, you need to find both the right incentive and the right timing to KYS. Just like confessing to your first crush, wouldn't you say? That was quite the smiley. It was in no way a funny topic, yet I almost giggled. The days of seppuku were long in the past, so most suicides these days were done on impulse, or are done on impulse. With that, I saw what she was getting at about train stations being hotspots for that kind of thing. Yeah, it's rather instantaneous. Train stations are places everyone uses in their day-to-day lives, whether they're young or old. And no matter how busy you are, waiting on the platform for the train to come is a good time to reflect on yourself. And so in those few minutes waiting for the train, it could cross your mind how easy it would be to just end it all. Train platforms were truly a wonder in that sense. If the thought of KYS passed through your head, you wouldn't even need to prepare anything special. All it would take is a few steps towards the edge of the platform, cross the yellow line, then cross the white line, and onto the electricity of the rails. Sure, you'd have to wait for a train first, but those arrived every few minutes during the busy hours. A desire to doof and a few minutes of spacing out, that was all you needed. And it was all just a hop, skip, and a jump away. It's the best suicide spot there is, don't you think? No spots are the best spots. So quick and easy. Just as close as a convenience store or karaoke bar. If you're tired, you can buy an energy drink. If you're stressed, you go sing, right? I feel like train stations are kind of the same. Yeah, just listening to the sound of wee-woo, wee-woo. So in other words, when you're tired of life, it should be okay to treat the idea of KYS almost casually. That's what she was saying. Suicide was supposed to be really tragic and serious, right? It is tragic and serious because it is an incredibly dark topic. Yet this woman was talking about how death shouldn't be considered that big of a deal. It's subjective towards whom and who it affects, but I think that every life that transpires by this kind of method is incredibly morbid. Like cutting your hair short for a change of pace, or for me personally, just removing my beard, or splurging on a fantastic overseas vacation. In other words, resetting your life should be treated just as lightly as all of that. I don't know if it was because I was sleepy or what, but her words feel like they were awakening something awfully new and fascinating inside me. Just don't follow the voices, okay? Yeah, you're right. Are you sure they're right? Maybe you don't have to be at the end of your rope to consider suicide after all. Like how you might just change up your hair after a breakup, or how you might treat yourself to a makeover or a new purse on a whim. Maybe it really should be treated as casually as that. You know, I think the word suicide is a bit too extreme. Yeah, if you say so, but ending one's own life with their own volition, if that's even how you pronounce that word, is that word. Regardless of your own individualistic conveniences, some definitions within a dictionary cannot be altered down to people's perseverance or perceivingness of it. Yeah. When really it feels just as rejuvenating as having a spa day to exfoliate and boost your metabolism. So maybe we should go as far as to say we're oofing ourselves, but instead that we're rejuvenating our lives. Don't you think that has a wonderful ring to it? Rejuvenating our lives, huh? Yeah, that did have a real nice ring to it. It was only then that I realized the woman had been talking to me. She was leaning against the other side of the pillar. I turned around and locked eyes with her. She was an older woman in her 20s or so, with stunning long hair and a somewhat compassionate aura around her. It's a real eye-opener, I'll tell you. It never hits you until right then just how easy it is. You feel like such an idiot for having worried over nothing for so long. Have you ever rejuvenated yourself? Yes. She answered as if I had simply asked for the time. Wait, hold on for a second. I felt as though my entire world had been turned upside down. Topsy-turvy. Oh my gosh, the world has become distorted. I grew as dizzy as if heaven and earth had been inverted, and the sounds of the crowds around me grew deafening as though someone had turned up the volume on the... Oh gosh. Okay, so H just controls kite. Oh dearie me, but I'm kind of glad I selected that, because now I know how to hide the UI for thumbnail purposes. Great. Yeah, everything has become distorted. Like everything has become No. All of a sudden I found myself at the very front of a crowded platform. Why is this the case? Why you been allured to such a spot beyond where the waiting line would usually start? I wasn't even a full step away from going over the edge, but there was a sea of people behind me. It was as packed as a can of sardines. Trying to force them back did no good, and if I tried to push my way through them, they pushed back just as hard. Go on. Look down. Yes, I see the rails down. I heard the woman close by, but I couldn't see her. I didn't plan on listening to her, but a push from behind instinctively drew my eyes to my feet. I was stunned by what I found. What did you find? Where there should have been no gravel and train tracks was instead a vast blue sky, spread out as far as the eye can see, apparently. Beautiful fields of clouds adorned that light blue sea. It was like I was looking down from a floating island. No, wait, those clouds seemed familiar. They were just like those towering cumulonimbus clouds I had seen one summer when I was a kid lying on a field in a nature park. I think those are kind of the clouds that form together when severe thunderstorms come about. Or it's clouds on top of other clouds. That's right, there wasn't a sky below me. The sky I had looked up at on that day was under my eyes. and just as soon as I realized that, I felt as though gravity had been turned on its head. My chest grew light with the desire to be sucked into that blue ocean, like that feeling you get when you finally reach the top of a tall slide after waiting in a long line. Come along. But there's no need to be scared. It's easy, really. You'll feel like a fool for ever worrying about it. Whenever you hear a voice in your head in real life, if you can't see the voice itself, just don't follow it. The woman appeared before me, holding her hand out to me. I had no idea how she got there without me noticing. Almost like she'd walked up to me as I lie gazing at the sky on that field, inviting me to go with her. And it wasn't just her. There were other women there. Her friends or co-workers, maybe. Along with men in suits. Allured. Though it felt like they were inviting me to a barbecue or something. I just realized UI has lots of dolls in it. I like that. They looked so out of place in the suits, but it felt kind of silly to me. But there's nobody there. But that means jumping off the platform, right? But there was an announcement signaling the arrival of the next train, and yet everyone was coaxing me over to them, their faces plastered with blissful smiles, almost like they were telling me I'd miss the train if I didn't hurry. But couldn't they hear that screeching of metal against tracks? The train was coming. I couldn't jump. If I did, I'd... Come on, hurry up. Don't be scared. It doesn't hurt. Because you're not the one that's jumping, miss. Hurry, hurry. You're going to miss it. Everyone said that as they reached out and waved to me, like telling me I'd miss out on all the fun if I didn't come along. But they were asking the impossible. Because... Whoa, that was death. Hadn't they all been crushed to pieces? Their hands, feet, and heads were all crushed to pieces, weren't they? There was no blue sky, just a blanket of scattered stone dyed reddish-brown by the elements and rust. Faded metal rails like prison bars reaching out into the distance. It was from there that their dead moaned, pushing through the drag ballast, or ballast, as they desperately reached out to me. Their own buried hell beneath the stone, its residents doomed to be crushed under the weight of each passing train, unnoticed by the living day after day. The mutilated dead mourned there in agony as they desperately sought new companions to join them in the afterlife. One of them had become nothing more than a partially crushed head. Another's outstretched hand had fallen right off their arm. An indecipherable jumble of hands and feet squeezed through the stones as they beckoned me over. Do not be allured by them. Chills ran through me from head to toe. I wanted to back away, but a sea of people behind were pushing back just as hard against me. No, even harder. Stop, I'm gonna fall. However, they were clearly winning. My toes had already stretched out past the platform and were trembling in mid-air. I stretched my arms as far as they could go, grabbed onto someone behind me and held on for dear life. But the encroaching wall of flesh kept pushing. By this point, my heroes were already halfway over the platform. The eyes of the mechanical carnivore gleamed as it grew closer. The train rushed forward, crushing the mourning dead underfoot as it did. The screams of the damned joined in chorus with the metallic screeching as the train approached with its fierce velocity. "It'll swallow me whole if I don't get out of the way." And alas, but just then I found myself dancing in the midair. At that moment, the stone graveyard of the suffering dead suddenly transformed into that magnificent sky once again. But this time it's real. I couldn't tell if I was falling or floating. "Congratulations, congratulations! You escaped a probable demise." Everyone stood on that field of grass under the sky, their arms raised as if in celebration, and waited for me. I fell gently into their clutches. Almost like I was light as a feather. Their countless hands caught me comfortably. See? That wasn't so scary now, was it? Welcome to our world. We're happy to have you. After all, no one can hear us. There is no pain or suffering here. Oh yes, because all the arms reaching out from the ground pleading for escape is not pain or suffering. Nor sorrow nor anger. No irritation or frustration either. They're all things of the past here, if you say so. Ha he he ha. Of course, the same goes for hope, salvation, resurrection, and rebirth. He ha ha he he ha. Yeah, ha he ha ha. Whatever that is. The transient illusion was all a lie. The sky, clouds, field, and people who'd welcome me all vanished. I was lying on the rails, bound tight by the countless hands. That's right. I was a sacrifice to the steel behemoth. And the screech. Ugh. God. I wouldn't even want to try to imagine what that's like in real life, witnessing that as a fellow person on the platform. My body was gnawed down to nothing by the jaws of the train in the blink of an eye. How are you even speaking? You're dead. All my bones broke with a sound akin to the crunching of a candy bar. I heard that with the ear remaining of my severed head... Okay, really? Naturally, not even my severed head could escape those steel jaws, of course. Hee, who would have thought that sound could be music to one's ears? Crunch, smash. What a pleasant sound. Like sinking your incisors into the skin of a crisp candied apple. It was a bit of a surprise to discover how gratifying it was, to have my body devoured. Deep down, I understood it was an evil, detestable temptation. But being so thoroughly gnawed at was a sensation both satisfying and amusing beyond comprehension. You know how it feels good when you're stretching and you feel your joints crack? Well, try picturing that, but all over your body like goosebumps. And it keeps happening over and over again, then you might understand. I think what happened just now is, well, we died. Hee, crunch smash. I knew, of course, that I shouldn't get into that kind of pleasure. But by that point, my body had been reduced a little more than an assortment of paste and limbs strewn across the rails. Hee, crunch smash. Ha, hee. What little there was left of me was being dragged under the track bed. A world of crushed limbs and innards. But it seemed that wasn't enough to kill them. Agonized moans filled the air. Hee. I understood. This was liberation. A finality. I didn't have to remember my day-to-day life any longer. I didn't have to keep spacing out and waiting without end. Waiting? Hold on. Why did I come to the station again? Yeah, you were waiting for a friend, weren't you? Oh well, who cared? It didn't matter anymore. Oh, another train was coming. And of course, again, you are being furtherly disassembled. The wheels of the train crushed hundreds more limbs and torsos and organs. How the hell are you even thinking right now? Hee 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 ha 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 he 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 he. Crunch smash hee hee. Oh, anyways. A blinding light gradually intruded on my ecstasy and all traces of thought came to an end. Because we are dead. Hey, are you okay? Oh, we didn't even die. That was just our imagination. Oh, you had a nightmare. Tsubakiko panted as she returned to reality. She was leaning against the pillar in front of the station, waiting for Suzumu. That was still the same, but one thing was different. Time had advanced to the point of Suzumu's arrival. Ah, so that's what the hallucination was. Shizumu? You looked like you were in pain just now. Did I? Maybe I drifted off. Tsubakiko gave a slight nod as she suggested that perhaps she'd been spacing out for so long, she'd had a waking dream. Are you alright? Did you want to rest a bit? I'm fine. I'm just spaced out a bit, really. Did you have a bad dream or something? Dreams can sometimes be so clear that they feel real when you're in them. Lucid dreams, I think that's the term. Yeah, in most cases, you better remember what they were about the moment you wake up. I think you have snippets. Tsubakiko couldn't put it into words. All she knew was that it was a bizarre, grotesque daydream. She couldn't recall anything more than that. But as she stared at Shizumu's face, her mind started clearing up. She could feel herself returning to reality, the daydream being driven away in a flash. She'd already completely forgotten that fantastical delusion that had taken hold of her. People don't tend to retain every detail of the daydreams or fantasies they might have when spacing out. After all, that's why we have pens and paper to detail that kind of stuff down, so you don't have to try and remember, like a shopping list. Fantasies like this happen all the time. Sorry, I got here a little early, so I must have dozed off. Oh, how early are we talking? 50 minutes. About an hour, maybe? Wow, that's amazing. You waited for me that long? Now I feel really embarrassed for arriving 50 minutes late, when on a date you never make the girl wait. I wasn't really waiting for you or anything. Yeah. I just happened to get here a bit early, that's all. Whatever, boys aren't supposed to get caught up in that sort of stuff anyway. You're funny, Kiko. I'm gonna call her Kiko from now on. Well, I'd feel bad if a country boy like you got lost at the station. Hey, I'm a sort of a country boy myself, growing up in the countryside. There's a different scent of the fresh air out here. So I came here early and waited. Did you understand? Do you? But if I had gotten lost, wouldn't I be running late instead? Is that all your stuff? I'll take one of your bags. Oh no, that's okay. They're heavy. And I'm a big, strong, independent girl that can carry your stuff and my own on just my pinky, which is my little finger. It's no problem, no problem. Wait, what? Yeah, that's heavy. Kiko snatched Shizumu's travel bag out of his grasp, only to drop it to her feet with a thud. What is this thing? It weighs a ton. It's my Switch. See? I told you. You didn't look like you were having any trouble with it, so I thought it'd be light. Hey, look at my sweet muscle. Is your backpack any lighter? Oh, sorry, lighter? Okay, that instead. No, that's even heavier. It's okay, really. Besides, it's heavier than the bag. Man, Shizumu, you sure are strong. No, you're just really weak, Kaiko. Well, hey, There are lots of fantastically strong females out there as well, okay? But it's just natural. Wait, that's right. You do martial arts, don't you? Just my arms, really. Hey, martial arts also includes legs as well. You look as thin as you used to be, but wow, you've really grown. Same with you. I can't believe how cute you've got them. Aww. You think so? Thanks, I'm happy to hear that, even if you're just trying to be nice. I'm not just being nice, I meant every word. I'm sincere. Thanks. Well, I am a girl, you know. I work hard every day to be cute as a cute little button. There wasn't a single hint of flattery in Suzumu's compliments, making Kaiku even more embarrassed. Kiku. Her heart was all aflutter at the thought of Suzumu might turn out to be one heck of a lady killer. His full name was Suzumu Suzuhara. Just like Kiku, he was 16 years old and in 11th grade. He would be going to the same school as her starting in April. As per family tradition, he would start living on his own from this year onwards. His large backpack and traveling bag contained his personal belongings and the like. That said, he was still a minor, so it wasn't like he would be truly living on his own just yet. The Hariyimas, Kako, and her parents would be taking care of him. Shizumu and Kiko were relatives. However, they were 6 times removed, so they could hardly be considered close in terms of blood ties. What's more, the two hadn't seen each other since their great-grandfather's funeral over a decade ago. Their parents had told them each other the other was doing, or sorry, how each other was doing. But this was the first time in so long they were truly meeting face to face. Despite that, they didn't feel like strangers at all. Family ties truly are a curious and strange thing after all. Even if today had been their first meeting, Kiko wouldn't have been opposed to welcoming him into the family at all. It was strange, but that was just how close she felt to him. Ready to go? Huh? What's with the commotion? The station employees were in a fluster. I wonder if somebody had listened to a voice and went to the beyond. The teenagers exiting the station were rambling on about something, their faces pale. Yes, a sewer slide happened. It sounds like someone jumped, and just now, too. What? Seriously? That's creepy. More than creepy, it's incredibly morbid. They're saying an office lady in her 20s with long hair jumped right into a train. Unfortunately, in Japan, they have an incredibly high rate of suicide rates. An office lady in her 20s with long hair. Ooh, oh my god, that's awful. How terrible. Death doesn't solve anything. Unfortunately, in life, there are 2 things that are certain. Your birth and your death. Maybe she was rejuvenating. Really? Are you really seriously suggesting that you are listening to that voice? Your friend here, your relative, is going to think you're going to be some kind of psycho. Huh? What's that? Huh? Did I say something? For a moment, images of a field under a blue sky and a woman with an unsettling smile flashed through Kiko's mind, but they faded into the fog of oblivion just as soon as they'd appeared. After all, it's pointless to remember daydreams. Like, he's going to think you're weird. I'm sorry. So, this is where you live, huh? Oh, we're changing the perspectives of the protagonist here. My father considered living alone to be a trial of sorts for me. For generations, men of the Shishihara family had lived independently after reaching a certain age. Yeah, that sounds like a very generational thing and a very family-specific thing to do, depending on the family itself. Only once one had trained his body and mind without relying on others was he considered a fully fledged adult. I'd eagerly awaited this opportunity for as long as I could remember. That was why I studied up on all sorts of things in preparation for this day, so I could live on my own. The thought of finally being able to put all that to the test excited me beyond words. Here you go. This is the key for your place. You're in room 202 on the second floor. Thanks. My own place, huh? I'm starting to get pretty excited now. Kiko's family, the Hariyimas. Oh, Kiko being Tsubakiko. Her full name was Tsubakiko Haruyama. Anyway, Kiko's family, the Hariyamas, were landlords who owned several apartment complexes in Suzuda. I'm calling you Hariyamas from the Pokemon Hariyama. This quaint two-story apartment complex, Residence Hariyamian 2, was one of them. Or anyways. And I would be living here. Oh yeah. I opened the door to find a futon and stacks of cardboard boxes containing daily necessities waiting for me. The delivery man had already made their rounds. But obviously in here, I also find the equivalence of my soul. An empty room. Well, there is an air conditioning there as well, or a heater. Wow, that's a lot more stuff than I was picturing. I kinda had it in my head that guys just stuffed their things into one bag and that was it. Hey! That's called assumptions, you know. My mom said I'd be cooking for myself, so she just sent stuff like a frying pan and a hot pot. Wait, you can cook? Yeah, that's the plan. Though I wouldn't call myself a master chef or anything, just enough to get along by. What about you? Can you cook? I might not look like it, but my dream is to be a pretty wife someday. Well, you already got the pretty part down, but it's just the wife part that gets the no mark so far. And what kind of wife would I be if I didn't learn how to cook? I'm gonna blow your mind with some delicious home cooking. You don't have to say delicious more than once. Wow, that sounds great. I'd like to try some of that. Or maybe we can cook together. Just leave it to me. I want to find out what guys like. So you'd be doing me a favor too. Everyone's different, you know. Just because one guy likes something doesn't mean the next guy down the road likes the same thing as well. If I like sushi and the other guy doesn't like sushi, that doesn't mean there's going to be some kind of paradox going on. Kiko nodded along, her eyes gleaming and her smile beaming. It seemed she'd been looking forward to living near a boy her age, what with being in the midst of adolescence and all. By the way, I'm in 201, right next door. How convenient. Also, the walls are thin, so if you even dare to eavesdrop and hear any of my little lady secrets, I'll slaughter you. You got it? I'd never do that. But thank you for the heads up. I mentioned it might be easier to unpack with a box cutter and scissors. So Kiko left the room saying she'd go get them. With the bright and cheery Kiko gone, a somewhat chilly stillness filled the room. I wonder what hallucinations are going to fill this lad's mind now that we're alone. The place hadn't been renovated, so there were faint traces of the previous owner's existence still lingering around. The smell of tobacco. Replacing that with my presence and making the place my own would be among the great pleasures of living alone. My own hallmarks. But until then, I just have to put up with a bit of discomfort. And death. Huh? Ah, I knew we'd get our own hallucinations at some point. Just then, long black hair gently tickled my cheek. No, it was just some falling dust. I looked up to the ceiling. The ceiling was collapsing and discovered it was pitch black, like someone had painted it with soot. It fell gently like black snow. Black snow is more accurate to be ash. When I came to my senses, I found myself in a pitch black cloud filled with that falling snow. I couldn't see a thing. However, I could sense many presences. At that moment, I thought I could hear a female voice reading out something like a sutra at length. Her voice sounded youthful, but I couldn't see her anywhere. Whoa, instead, a giant turquoise object shaped like a spindle, heavy and covered in rust, came into view. It looks like the Undertaker. It felt like the voice was coming from within it. Many people were sitting around the object. The lights of many candles flickered about, giving the affair a ritualistic atmosphere. Candlelight danced in a cloud of black soot, illuminating the massive conical mass. I could hear the woman reading. No, praying? Singing? Chanting, probably, inside it. I couldn't help but wonder what in the world that thing was. My eyes were gradually drawn into it. The woman's chants broke into coughs from time to time. My heart wrenched at that sound. My head as well. I felt like I was going to choke in the cloud of soot as well. Before I knew it, that bizarre object loomed over me like a massive mountain, then swallowed and squished my consciousness whole. Iwaihime. That's also really useful as well. What's a very disturbing doll there? Is that school? Suzumu Prefectural High School, Class 2A. My class! Originally, the plan had been for me to transfer here a year ago, back when I was starting high school. But my mother fell ill just before the entrance exam, so I had to stay and help around the house. As a result, I was delayed. She eventually returned from the hospital with a clean bill of health and a bill, and so I finally started attending the school 1 year later. At first, I was worried a transfer student like me would attract all sorts of attention and have a hard time. But since there were so many students at this school and I transferred in right at the start of the school year, no one noticed. Yeah, it's almost like you were blending in. That was to be expected. The freshmen had 8 different classes, so there was no way the students would know everyone in their grade. They all probably figured I'd been in a different class last year, just some classmate they hadn't bumped into until now. It's like that anime of Another, where that one particular person was just completely ignored, but only in very situational moments does anybody notice their presence. So no one had any reason to think I was a transfer student unless I told them. That made things much easier for me. What's more, every day at the school wasn't just easy, it was actually pleasant. As for why? Well, first of all, Kiko was in the same class. Yay! Social studies is so boring. I slept so much, but I'm still sleepy. So sleepy even though class is over. Did you take notes? The teacher said it would be on the test. Wait! Seriously? Oh no! Somebody has been a naughty little student who has not done their notes. You can copy my notes if you'd like, but just change it so it looks like you didn't copy them, okay? Yeah, thank you, Shizumu. Yeah, thanking the attentive one. What? Shizumu, your notes? Huh? Is my handwriting bad? They're so girly. What do you mean by girly? Why is your handwriting so flowery? Look how bubbly it is. It's too cute. Really? Honestly, I find it embarrassing. It's like a kid's. And there are so many drawings. Look at all the speech bubbles. Speech bubbles are, in a way, a means of highlighting certain features so that it's like this feature is within this factor, whereas that feature is just written down without anything to signify it. This will be on the test, all right? Better meow memorize this part. Oh, great. Seriously, what is this? It's unbelievable. You're more feminine than I am. Compared to mine, Kiko's handwriting was rather dull and simplistic. Her boredom with school was palpable from her notes alone. Suzumu, I need to ask you, how much would you be willing to sell these for? Sell what for? I don't think so. It doesn't count as studying unless you write and memorize it yourself. This isn't about studying. Just teach me your ways. Huh? Those are Shizuharu's notes? So cute, so easy to understand. For some reason, girls had always liked me. Not like I had a clue why. I'm a girl's kind of guy, but I had guy friends too. That's Shizuharu, alright. As great a man as always. Just as there is always light in darkness, in every great man lies a touch of femininity. You've got it all wrong. No, don't be modest. I don't think you're effeminate at all. I've made it my goal to absorb all your greatness. Behold, my notebook. What? Natsu proudly displayed his notebook, filled to the brim with drawings. Though it looked like he had more drawings than actual notes. They're so ugly. Aye. They're great and cute, right? Even I was surprised by their femininity sleeping within me. No. The girls just said they're ugly. Yeah, they're cute. This one's a lion, right? Close, but it's a cat. Meow. I couldn't even tell if it was a four-legged animal. Damn, what a roast. A colourful notebook is a fun notebook. You're amazing, Natsu. Me? Nah, I've got a ways to go. But I'll reach your greatness grade one day yet. This was Natsuya Atsuda. My best friend... I botched that pronunciation. Just like every other Japanese name. He was a very unique and funny guy. I don't know why, but he'd taken a liking to me ever since we met at the opening ceremony. Looks like you've got a ways to go too, Hariyama. Even I'm more feminine than you. You're the last person I want to hear that from. So, I hear what you're saying, but I'm not sure I'm clear on what you two mean when you say I'm feminine. No need to explain, it's just a part of your greatness. Basically, I think you were born with wrong gender. Oi! I don't care, okay? I don't care what attributes are genderly aligned. Because at the end of the day, we can like what we like and dislike what we dislike. Do you know how much I've practiced doing my wifey duties just to get where I am now? Every single day. And I'm gonna be wondering when I'm walking home what my next role will be to make myself an even greater wife one day. That's right, practice is everything. I'll train to fill my notebook with even cuter drawings too. You shut up, Atsuta. But still, Shizuharu is like, so amazing! He practiced martial arts, right? I heard he's super strong. He broke 3 boards simultaneously. Of course he is. He's not some delicate little flower. What makes Shizuharu so great is that he's got the strength of a man with the sensitivity of a girl. True, he's got some real arm strength. Apparently he trains all the time. That's not all. Take a look at his fists. Those are the fists of a man who's been through some great battles. Oh, they're just calloused. That's all. I'm using lotion on them though. My father ran a martial arts dojo. As a result, he had trained me ever since I was little. Said training involved punching trees wrapped in straw and the like, so my hands were pretty roughed up. Yet it's some kind of stamina training or physical endurance training, doing that sort of thing. But I guess that might have made me stronger than the average person too. Self-defense is very important to learn. On the first day of school, I'd accidentally made eye contact with Natsuya, and he challenged me to an arm wrestling match on the spot, which I won naturally. Afterwards, he said that was the first time he'd lost, but I'd caught his eye. Sorry, that had caught his eye and so on. He'd be fond of me ever since. I want to train under Shizuharu's old man and get stronger too. Then I'll be reborn as the great Natsuya and smite evil with my bare fists. My family style is a kind of martial arts, but it's not meant for fighting. That's right. Martial arts are for fighting. They're for defending. And for attacking. Offensive and defensive. I knew I saw something in you, Shizuhara. You really are a great man. Thank you. Just you watch, Shizumu. I'll take super cute notes next time and show you just how feminine I can be. Oh my, look at all these cute little drawings. Whose notebook is this? Is this a teacher's? Oh, it's Miss Hanigata. Health class is next. Miss Hanigata, it's Shizuhara's notebook. Just look at it. Look at it. I can't believe a boy can take such cute notes. I'm so jealous. Seriously, I'm not trying to make them cute or anything. It's just a natural talent of mine. Shizuhara loves to study, and this is just how he shows it. Study and life are both just like white bread. How? Is it because they lack nutrients? Or lack nutrients that wholemeal or brown bread has? If you don't add anything to it, it'll always... Oh, I see what you mean now. It'll always be bland, right? I get it. So that would make boring-ass social studies stale bread, wouldn't it? So that's why he adds all these cute drawings for that class. I figured I'd enjoy social studies better if I did. Yeah, make your time more worth it. Adding a little spice to one's boring day-to-day life takes a real feminine touch if you ask me. Now, if only I could do the same. I'm going to do my best to learn how to. Whoa, that's our Shizuhara. He truly is great. We have simps on both sides of both men and women. I wasn't drawing these to try and impress anyone though. And that's precisely what makes him so charming. If you were trying to use him to pick up girls or something, you'd be one heck of a schemer. A schemer? So picking up girls was in your plans too, Shizuhara. You truly are great. I don't really get what's so great, but thanks for the compliment. I wouldn't take that as a compliment. Oh, there's the bell. Take your seats, everyone. Next on the agenda is my super duper fun health class. Unlike Miss Hanigata's classes, they're always interesting. She sure is popular with boys, huh? They must like her for her big assets. Of course, they're full of a man's hopes and dreams. Wrong. The correct answer was fatter mammary glands. Nice, Keiko, you really are studying. Shizumu couldn't be happier with his school life. He'd integrated perfectly into the class, and each day was just as satisfying as the last. It wasn't just Shizumu either. Everyone in the class was happy. They were basking in the glory of their adolescence days. Shizumu's classmates all took their seats as they reluctantly ended their conversations. Everyone bowed as commanded to by the class representative, and the once lively classroom fell silent yet again. The silence was abruptly broken by the sound of the rear door opening, attracting the attention of the entire class. I wonder if someone has suicided. Oh. Oh. Well, aren't you the ominous feature to enter the room with you and your doll? Everyone there felt that way, but there was one person they all avoided. Really? Was it her that they avoided? This was definitely inspired by another. That someone was her. Kurokami, take your seat, okay? Will size a teacher. What is it? Go. Ah. I see, take your seat. We're on page 38. Miss Hanigata smiled as she responded, but it wasn't like they were carrying on a conversation. Indeed, it was more like she was a mother responding to an infant's babble. The girl's name was Toé Kurokami, a definite enigmatic individual who carries around their equally as enigmatic doll. The only way to describe her would be a wonder, or a wanderer. She staggered to the seat in the back of class, next to the window like a ghost. Yet even her eyes look lifeless, the bags under her eyes. As she did, the rest of the class averted their eyes or pretended they didn't notice her. None of them budged in the slightest until they heard her take her seat. It bears repeating, but the only way to describe her would be a wonder. She always carried a Japanese doll with her, and never let it go for even a second. There were whispers that it must be a cursed doll, whose hair grew longer when you weren't paying attention. That said, there wasn't anything wondrous about it. It was just an eerie doll. Many wondered if she was even allowed to bring it to school, but yet she would go hysterical if she couldn't. Yet no one said a word about it. What's more, Toé never let go of the doll, not even during classes. When how the hell was she able to take notes? Yet no one said a word about it, even though she never held a pencil or opened a textbook. Even at that very moment, she just kept on holding the doll as she stared off into space. But Miss Hanagata didn't even try to reprimand her. That went for the other teachers too. No matter what subject they were teaching, none of them told her to put it away. Far from it, they said nothing even when she would suddenly raise to her feet and leave the classroom. She'd even done so that very day, staggering out of the classroom at the very beginning of social studies. Yet the social studies teacher hadn't reprimanded her, merely asked if she was going to the infirmary again. She's even wearing a different uniform too. Or is she? I wasn't really taking notice of the female uniform too. Maybe I'm just hallucinating. Her head was in the clouds regardless of the subject. There was no way the school could allow that. And yet the whole school allowed Toé Kurokami. Her classmates would wonder if she was a ghost, or if the teachers couldn't see her. The very notion was ridiculous, of course, but no one laughed, for they understood she was an ominous presence they'd do best not to get involved with. In spite of that, the class was getting used to her existence and strange habits. April was almost at its end, and the whole class had already mostly stopped paying her any mind. Kurokami sure is strange. Leave her be. I find it hard to believe she passed the entrance exam. Remember, one who is quiet is the best listener. No one could even imagine her holding a pencil. Natsuya's comment was on point, like the point of a pencil. It confounded my mind to envision how she had been allowed to join the school in the first place. It's because the Kurokamis are rich, right? Maybe they use their great money or their great sorcery power alike to get her in through back channels or something. You shouldn't say that. But everyone thought so. No one believed she had been accepted through the proper channels. The more one thought of her, the more of a mystery she became. She was like that all last year too. All she ever did was hold that doll and ignore classes. Wouldn't she have trouble with tests and makeup lessons then? Guess there are exceptions to everything. Maybe someone does it for her. She never shows up to makeup lessons, and her name doesn't even show up on the test score rankings, I hear. Yeah, same. Also hear the school just ignores her altogether. Indeed, they were ignoring her even now. The teacher should have been able to see her from where she stood. yet she continued with the lesson like nothing was wrong. That was a very mysterious and, depending on one's mindset, eerie. He didn't exactly have much in common with her, so Shizumu hadn't really paid her any mind so far. Every school had its own troublemakers and quirky students. I don't think she falls in neither of them. The types everyone ignores because it would be a pain to get involved with them. Toé was certainly occupying that role. There had been only his evaluation of her, because the more he thought now, the more conscious of her he became. Shizumu had never felt this way before. It was bizarre. Making sure the teacher wasn't watching, he looked back at Toé. She was staring blankly at the ceiling. She didn't so much as even glance at him. I wonder if she was in her own hallucination. Yet for some reason, Shizumu's glance was drawn to her. It wasn't exactly love at first sight, but deep down Shizumu felt an unrest that was similar, yet completely removed from it. Was it anxiety? Or a sense of responsibility? A sense of duty that said he needs to do something, perhaps? Not even Shizumu understood the strange feelings now roiling within him. Toé Kurokami. Just what was it about her? You look like you petty her. Are you thinking of talking to her? No. I'd stop if I were you. I've heard some crazy rumors about her. They say you'll be cursed if she ever makes eye contact with you, like a Medusa in a similar way. That can't be true. I heard there was a girl last year who felt bad for her and tried talking to her. Oh yeah, I heard that one too. What happened to her? Apparently she went insane and stopped coming to school altogether. They said she got possessed by an evil spirit and had to get exorcised. I don't believe that. Ah, they're both gobsmacked. Keiko and Natsuya's eyes widened. I admit she seems difficult to approach. It's no surprise the others are a bit superstitious. But you can't take rumors that seriously. I don't think at this point it's rumors. I think it's more or less confirmed. I'm a bit surprised. You're a lot braver than I thought. My parents taught me to never judge a book by its cover. And I don't want to jump to conclusions about people I barely know, based on nothing but appearances and rumors. Now that is a very modest response. When I was in grade school, people used to make fun of me for having an effeminate face. I hated how they kept saying I was weak and unmanly. Man, way to put a guy on the spot. Natsuya also had been convinced Suzumu was a weakling when he first met him. He challenged him to that arm wrestling match as a prank, only for his opinion to take a direct 180 after the boy had soundly defeated him. Now realizing why Shizumu had taken up martial arts, Keiko felt a little ashamed of herself. I think the way you treated influences the person you become. For all we know, she just acts like that because of how others treat her. I see. Maybe it'll turn out she's actually a good person once she gets to talking to her. With her, sorry. Or talking to her, sorry. Even though it looked like they understood, it didn't seem like they wanted to talk to Toé Kurokami either way. Apparently, it wouldn't be easy for them to erase the sinister impression of her they'd built up in their minds. I don't know why, but that feels like my duty as a transfer student, or just as a fellow student in general. Duty? Man, what another great thing to say. I don't know what happened last year, but that may be exactly why I need to be the one who talks to her. A flame that had been lit within Shizumu. It was telling him to go talk to her. Perhaps there was something that she needed as well. Okay then, who shall I have read the next page? Atsuta? Yes, You amaze me, Shizumu. It's really admirable that you'd rather get to know someone instead of just believing in rumors. I think it's only natural. But haven't you ever heard the phrase, fools learn from experience? No? What's that? I don't know who said it. I just saw it on the internet. Fools learn from experience. The wise learn from history. Fools learn from neither, but the wise learn from both their experiences and things that have happened in both one's own history and history itself. I never heard that before, but I could guess what it meant. If you jumped from the top of a 10-story building, you die. Everyone knows that. But what you're saying is you wouldn't believe that unless you tried it for yourself. I think that's a bit too far of a stretch. I think there are some times where we need to turn to mankind's collective wisdom to avoid getting hurt. That isn't that big of a deal. It's not going to kill me just to talk to her. In the long term it might. That's true. But everyone avoids her because they find her creepy. You want to ignore everyone else's experiences and see what she's like for yourself. But don't you think you might be putting yourself in serious danger? It hadn't been that long since I reunited with Kaiko, but I'd never seen her look so serious. It was a shockingly stern expression, like the face of a mother makes when scolding her child for trying to run out into the street when the light was red. I can feel it in my bones. I don't think you should get mixed up with Kurokami. Kaiko. I warned you, okay? The blotches of blood on my vision. And what a lovely scene to end our video off. The clear night sky with the bright moon. That's beautiful as well, by the way. That's going to make for a nice background on a PC or a thumbnail of sorts. But along with other things as well, could be. Thank you so much for watching. I am thoroughly intrigued with the story so far. And I feel like this Toé Kurokami character is going to be the main antagonist within this tale. But also as well, I think the main tragic individual itself. What has caused her to be this enigmatic individual? And I feel like as time goes on, we're going to learn more about her and her ominous aura. Thank you so much for watching. See you all in the next time of Iwaihime. Thank you for... Thank you so much for watching and take care of yourselves, everyone. I don't even know what I was going through there in my head there, but thank you and take care of yourselves.